Hello everybody, today we're doing LeetCode Code 167 to sum 2 input array assorted. Given a one-indexed array of integers called numbers that is already sorted in non-decreasing order. This means the numbers are going up this way. Find two numbers such that they add up to a specific target number. Let these two numbers be numbers sub-index 1 and numbers sub-index 2, where 1 is less than or equal to index 1, which is less than index 2, which is less than or equal to numbers.length. Return the indices of the two numbers index 1 and index 2 added by 1 as an integer array, like this, of length 2. The tests are generated such that there is exactly one solution. You may not use the same element twice. Your solution must use only constant extra space. Example 1, numbers 2, 7, 11, 15, and our target is 9. We're looking for two numbers that adds up to 9. And in this case, it is 2 and 7. Because 2 plus 7 is 9, we want to return those indices, which is 0 and 1, and add 1 to each of them. So plus 1 here. And that is equal to 1, comma 2. And that is our output. For example 2, our target is 6, and we're looking for two numbers that adds up to 6. And in this case, it is 2 plus 4, which is equal to 6. And the indices for these, plus 1, would be 1 and 3. So let's see how we would approach this in this example. Okay, so our array for example 1 is 2, 7, 11, 15. And we can clearly see that 2 and 7 equals to 9, but how do we go about this? What I like about this problem that is an interesting gimme that you can take advantage of is that these orders are increasing this way. And because they're increasing that way, you can solve this with a two-pointer, where on the left side, you started at index 0, and on the right side, you started all the way at numbers.length minus 1, which is here. And what we want to do at the very first iteration is to check if 2 plus 15, what does that equal to? That will equal to 17, and we want to check if it equals 17, and we want to check if it equals to 19. And 17 does not equal to 9, and what does that tell us? That tells us that 15 is way too big, and it's definitely not the number that we're looking for in terms of the number being part of the sum for our output. So we want to decrement it by 1. So now that it is at index 2, which is 11, and we're looking at 2 plus 11, which is equal to 13. And we want to see if 13 is equal to 9. And it's not. Still the same problem. 13 is way too big, so that means 11 is not part of our sum for finding target 9. So what do? We decrease r by 1, and we look at 2 and 7. We take 2 and 7. The sum is equal to 9, and we're trying to see if 9 is equal to our target, and it is. And because it is, those are the indices that we return. But before we return them as 0 and 1, so our index here is 0 for 2 and 1 for 7, we want to add 1 to both of them so that we get 1 and 2. So that is our final output. Now let's talk about time and space for this. For space, in the worst case scenario, our input is 1,000,000 elements long. And it doesn't matter because we don't create a new array, we don't create a new hash map or anything like that. Space is exactly the same because we're using the same input. The only thing that we're allocating are the two pointers, and it doesn't take up very much space, so our space here is O of 1. For time, in the worst case scenario, we've got 1,000,000 inputs and no two numbers will add up to that target. That means we have to go through every single element, which would be n divided by 2 because we're essentially iterating through half of the input, but we ignore the 2, and for time, it would be O of. Now let's see what this would look like in the code. So we'll first start out by initializing our left and right pointers and our sum variable. Left equals 0, right equals numbers.length minus 1, and we can also do sum equals 0 outside of our while loop. And then here we'll check while left is less than right. And the reason why we're doing left is less than right and not left is less than or equal to right is because for this particular problem, we're not using the same number on itself. For example, if target was the number 14 and this was still our array, we can't say 7 plus 7 equals 14 because that means we're using the same number twice. So that's why in our code, it makes sense to do left is less than right. So while we're iterating while left is less than right, we want to update sum at every iteration, and we want to compare sum with our target. So we're going to check what sum is at every iteration by doing sum equals numbers sub left plus numbers sub right. If our sum equals target, what do? We return those indices plus 1 to each of the indices. Return our left plus 1 and our right plus 1. Also, if our sum is greater than target, meaning the sum is way too big, and the right side is not part of our output, we're going to decrement right by 1 by doing right minus minus. Else, we're going to increment left by doing left plus plus. Okay, let's run our sample test cases. It looks good. And there you go. That's how I would go about it. If you liked the video, would love to see more, please help out by liking and subscribing. Thanks a lot. Hope to see y'all soon. Bye.